Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Rishi Harinan and this is TTT News. It's time for the headlines. Prime Minister meets with Muslim leaders in wake of New Zealand massacre on his return from California. Beating victim left for dead in well remains critical at hospital. Another appeal for opposition support for the income tax amendment bill. And in sports, TNT Warriors hold mighty Wales to narrow 1-0 victory. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley met with leaders of the Muslim community for discussions related to security concerns following the recent terrorist attack in New Zealand. In just over 2-hour-long meeting at the Diplomatic Centre in St. Anne's, it was attended by the Minister of National Security and Communications, Stuart Young, Minister of Rural Development and Local Government, Kazim Hussain, Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, holding the portfolios for Gender and Child Affairs, Ayanna Webster-Roy, and Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith. More details on that story a little bit later on in the newscast. Romeo Mitchell, the 55-year-old man who was beaten and thrown 16 feet down a well and left for dead on Sunday, is still at the San Fernando General Hospital in critical condition. The man's family found out that he was thrown into the well at Mora Dam Road early on Monday morning. More from Mahalia Joseph Wharton.
Romeo Mitchell's brother, Peter Mitchell, said his brother was mentally ill. He said his brother did not deserve what happened to him and called for justice.
No, my question here now, if my brother come out and he's paralyzed, what justice could that be to my family?
Sure.
That cannot be because we would have to get somebody to see about him right now.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a very difficult situation.
He shared with the media what he was told by the doctors at the hospital.
When I went down there and I spoke to the doctor said no, he didn't get no chop. Apparently he was beaten and he was shown inside there. However, surpassed CID have took over the matter. Yesterday when I went up there, they told me that they arrested the guy who had done such a crime.
Romeo, who was unable to climb out of the well because of spinal injuries and broken legs, cried out for help until residents came to his rescue.
Because when I saw that manhole, I saw the manhole that they chewed my brother into. I said that is first degree murder. Now if he had went by his neck, he would have broken his neck totally. But apparently he went down by his feet. Well, they told me that to get him out, they're so well trouble to get him out of inside there. So what they did, they took a while and they finally get him out at least around 10:30.
Sergeant Jagannath and others of the Superior CID investigated and detained a man for questioning. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
The governments of both Trinidad and Tobago and the United States of America are working together to improve disaster preparedness. A workshop hosted at the Trinidad Hilton today prepared the stakeholders for disasters that may occur. Ian Wason has more.
The flood in Greenvale and other areas in October last year triggered the government to look at the state's readiness when disasters occur. While he admitted more is needed, National Security Minister Stuart Young praised the efforts of responders.
Flood waters that have risen and covered cars, that have covered one-story buildings. Persons are now in the second story of their houses trying to get through the roof. And you have now been put on the ground there and been told, go and rescue people. You don't know how many people are inside. Communications are going down. It's difficult. You can't see things. You don't know what it is you're going into. You can't wait because you don't know where your cars are, etc. I thank God that no one was injured during that period. No life was lost during that period. But
both governments, through agencies, have put on the National Disaster Preparedness Baseline Assessment Workshop for government ministries as well as the regional corporations and the protective services. Colonel Claudia Carrizales, who is the Chief Military Liaison Officer of the United States Embassy, said apart from providing training, the U.S. government provides equipment the TT government can use for relief to victims of disaster. She called on the population to play its role.
What I hope we can accomplish in the year is also educating the population in those areas of what their responsibility is. Don't litter, don't do this, that just causes and feeds into the problem. So as we're looking at that, we also want to reach out to those local communities and say, what is your role and how can you help? Don't always just point at what the government is doing for you.
There is also a role for the media, a role which Colonel Jeffrey identified.
Your role is key, especially during a disaster period where people are not sure what's happening and they want information. Okay, as the minister highlighted that because he's also the Minister of Communication, he had to speak to you all to get to the community so people to know exactly what's happening throughout the country.
It's hope that when the rainy season returns in 2019, the regional corporations and protective services will be better prepared to assist where needed. Ian Wason, TTT News.
While Minister of National Security Stuart Young has linked vehicular parking with disaster preparedness. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the National Disaster Preparedness Baseline Assessment Workshop at the Trinidad Hilton, Minister Young focused on parking in Port of Spain and connected this with potential obstacles that first responders face in carrying out their jobs.
Use St. Vincent Street as a perfect example on a Friday afternoon. No parking signs on both sides saying you can park on alternate days. Reality, cars parked on both sides of the road, one lane of traffic. If a fire, an explosion, anything takes place, how are we getting our fire tenders through those roads? Laws are not made to be flouted and to be disregarded. It is only when a disaster takes place, people will then stand up and say, why weren't the cars moved? Why weren't there 2 lanes of traffic?
Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Alison West, says government is hoping to get the support of the opposition when it brings back the Income Tax Amendment Bill to the Parliament. At the 2019 Technical Anti-Money Laundering Seminar, Minister West said the fundamental elements that were critical for the compliance with Global Forum standards on tax transparency and exchange of information were unfortunately eliminated. She said there are 3 bits of legislation that need to be passed and noted the passing of this bill is crucial to improving the country's global outlook.
When we started, we got no support from the opposition, but then pressure was brought to bear. The public spoke out, the banks especially, about the implications to them and their concerns about the lack of support, and the situation changed. So we are hoping that having passed FATCA and having regard to the fact that this legislation essentially replicates what we did for FATCA, that we will get the opposition support when we bring them back.
Meanwhile, Minister West also spoke about the government's take on digital currency.
We're not heading in that direction at this point.
Okay. concerning our stance on cryptocurrencies, are we still causing people or highlighting the danger of it, or are we?
We are approaching cryptocurrency with caution.
President General of ASTRA, Trinidad and Tobago, Yaqub Ali, says there is no need to fear that the terrorist attack at a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand, will happen in Trinidad and Tobago. The ASTRA was just one of several Muslim organizations that met with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, Minister of National Security Stuart Young, and Police Commissioner Gary Griffith on Wednesday afternoon.
We don't think that sort of extreme behavior would happen in Trinidad.
Minister of National Security.
Muslims are not that way minded. I mean, we have born and grown up here, and we don't do that, and we don't condemn anybody's religion. You know, we said that said before, faith in God gives meaning and purpose to human life, that the brotherhood of man transcends the sovereignty of nations.
Yes.
Well, the Minister of National Security, in echoing the sentiments, says the gang warfare being played out between Rasta City and Muslims has nothing to do with religion. He said there is no need for heightened security at mosques or places of worship.
On all places of worship, we have more police patrols, and that is taking place. And what we told the Muslim community is, if you pick up any intelligence, please let us know. And that applies to everybody in Trinidad, but we're not going to encourage any panic situation unless things are intelligence driven and we've been able to, through due diligence, confirm it. We just continue business as usual.
Remember, you can also keep up to date with the latest stories on Facebook and Twitter at TTT Live Online. More to come, stay with us.
It's finished already.
Oh gosh, we'll watch something else.
Yes, like football. Fellow Trinidadians and Tobagonians,
The latest Met Office report shows that this dry season is going to be hotter than normal. And as a result, a lot of our surface level water is going to be lost to higher than usual levels of evaporation. In response to this situation, WASA has put measures in place to increase the water supply and, of course, reduce the number of leaks that are abundant throughout this country. We are asking for your help with some of the things that you can do to help conserve water at your home. Turn off the tap while brushing your teeth. Use a watering can or bucket to do your gardening. Fix leaky pipes around the house. Time your showers so you use less water. Instead of washing one or two items, wash only full loads. If we all get involved, we can together conserve up to 1 million gallons of water a day. And of course, please take care of your health during this dry season. Stay hydrated, drink lots of fluids. I believe we can do this together. Remember, every drop counts.
Every drop counts. Every drop counts.
Remember, every drop counts. A message from the Ministry of Public Utilities.
Welcome back. We start with football. Beaten, but by no means disgraced, as the undercooked TT Warriors held Wales to a narrow 1-0 defeat in their much-anticipated friendly at the Wrexham Racecourse ground. A resilient Trinidad and Tobago threatened to keep a sellout crowd quiet throughout, and in fact did just that for 90 minutes, until they had their bubbles burst in the most crucial of fashions and in added-on time. With only 3 weeks of preparation here at home, with a bunch of players who are out of season, and after having just 2 training sessions together as a full unit with their European stars, the TNT outfit more than held its own against 19th ranked Wales. TNT kept it scoreless at the half and in fact looked poised for a remarkable goalless result until Lady Luck smiled on the home team. Ben Woodburn, who was excellent in the second half for Wales, got a deserved goal for his efforts, chesting in Will Volk's lofted cross to the back post for the only goal of the match. It was ideal preparation for Wales, who faces Slovakia in Cardiff on Sunday, while the Warriors return home to continue their build-up to the Gold Cup in the United States. Fire won all sectors netball league on Tuesday after a convincing win over Police at the Tacarigua indoor facility. Janelle Richardson scored 35 goals as Fire is just 1 win away from completing the league unbeaten. Ian Wason has more.
Fire just needed a win over Police, and the Police Youth Club was hoping for a favour from Fire. Fire's Candice Guerrero, injured during national training a while back, watching her teammates from the stands. Jalissa Allen was given a rare start. She scored 15 goals as Police started the game short. The score here, 11-20, Fire on top. Simone Morgan then threatened to pull Fire away. She scored 22 goals here. The score was 22-11. By that time, other Fire players arrived at the venue, including Steve McSween, and his presence forced Fire coach to bring on her male players from the bench. That didn't stop Steve McSween from scoring 19 goals. But Fire was faster and more alert. Alicia Batiste reading the play for the interception, allowing Fire to score and make it 36-24 here. Fire had 86 attempts in the game to 51 by Police. Jeline Richardson alone had 51 attempts, scoring 37 of them to help secure a 59-35 victory for Fire and the 2019 All Sectors League, making Saturday's clash with Police Youth Club of pure academic importance. Even if Police Youth Club beat Unit Trust on Thursday, the game on Saturday will just be to complete the fixtures.
I think it is important for us, so we want to make sure to win out the league and everything else. I think it is not about the national team. I think it's more about experience, and we had more experience there on Fire team.
Fire, the 2019 All Sectors champions. Ian Wason, TTT Sports.
Well, the medals kept on coming for the Trinidad and Tobago Special Olympics outfit over at the World Games in the United Arab Emirates. Up to Wednesday, TNT amassed a stunning 56 medals, inclusive of 19 gold, 15 silver and 22 bronze, despite competing in only 5 disciplines: athletics, bocce, equestrian, powerlifting and swimming. On the final day of the competition, the TNT team picked up gold in the bocce doubles event with a perfect 4-0 record. The pair of Gary Boudou and Kenrick Baksh amassed a perfect 12 points, 2 more than the silver medalists. The pair of Alicia Khan and Michelle-Anne Hussein also copped bronze in bocce. TNT also landed gold in the pool when the locals touched first in a time of 2 minutes, 4.85 seconds in the 4x50 meters freestyle event, and on the track TNT also landed bronze when the quartet of Latoya Charles, Donald Doyle, Justin Providence and Jonathan Walker clocked 53.03 seconds in the sprint relay. Well, TNT cricket captain Dinesh Ramdin is thrilled with his team's 4th place finish in the just concluded West Indies Championship Series. The Red Force scored a deserved 85 runs victory over the Jamaica Scorpions on the final day to jump from 6th and last to 4th, prompting Ramdin to point out possibly the team finishing higher with a little more consistent cricket at crucial stages during the season.
When you look back at the season, the Barbados game and the first game that we played in the season here, which I was absent for, I think those are the 2 games where we could have been first or second. To win the tournament, probably 7 to 8 games, winning 4, drawing 1. When you look back at those 2 games, we could have been probably 1-2. But having said that, the guys shown progress, which is very important from last to 4th, and something to work forward to going into the 2019-2020 season.
While not fully satisfied with where the team finished, Ramdin remains optimistic of doing better next year and in the other competitions amongst regional teams. He is also adamant that they are not too far off as a team.
Yeah, I don't think we need anything. We have all the power that we need. We have spinners, we have pacers, we have batsmen. It's just for us to be consistent, I would say. When we lose games, we lose wickets in clusters in a session, and then we bowl bad, we bowl a session bad. So I think that's where the area we're going wrong. I don't think we can change much guys here. Probably guys like Django, Raja, those guys who were in setup before, we need them to be more consistent in club cricket and do well at this level.
That's it for sport. More to come. Stay with us.
Going strong. I post it, I gram it, I tweet it, I snap it, I share it with me mobile life is on. I post it, I gram it, I tweet it, I snap it, I share it with me mobile life is on. B-Mobile 4G LTE has the nation covered. Sign up today. Life is on with B-Mobile.
The weather is brought to you in part by the Water and Sewerage Authority. Water, use what you need.
We've been talking about the Saharan dust of late, but we also have other things are happening throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And indeed, for the Northern Hemisphere, spring begins. Meanwhile, we have a bigger and a brighter moon across Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed much of their Earth. In fact, we have our full moon, which is now quite close to the Earth. It's passing closest, which is called your lunar perigee, and at this time it tends to be 7% bigger than the average full moon. And then on the opposite scale, once the full moon is well away from the Earth, that is in apogee, basically it's now 14% bigger than its minimum. So basically, you'll definitely notice the rather large disk out there across Trinidad and Tobago as you go overnight from about 9:45 all the way through until sunrise tomorrow. Now, across Trinidad and Tobago, we have been seeing just a bit of cloudiness coming through. We obviously have the Saharan dust at the surface. We have some high-level clouds passing in, all part of a jet stream there. There's a possibility further towards the north of trough coming through, so you could be seeing a bit of cloudiness, maybe drifting from the Leeward Islands coming down to Barbados, but it will take its time to reach us. So that basically means that we'll still see mostly dull, hazy skies as you go through your morning in Tobago. Just occasional clouds are expected across Castara, coming down towards Plymouth, and eventually into Trinidad as well. Just only passing clouds as we go through your morning. So dull and hazy start across most parts of northern Trinidad, central areas, southern areas as well. bearing in mind that the Saharan dust does have obviously pollutants as well as pollen allergies in there as well. So definitely be mindful about that as you go through your day. Take the necessary precautions if you do have to go out. Obviously, maybe even a mask, maybe on the extreme side, but all of that helps as you go through this day and definitely encountering that Saharan dust. So temperature-wise, looking at a cool 22 degrees Celsius in Trinidad, 24 in Tobago, 32 will be the high. Another warm day in Trinidad, 30 expected in Tobago. Not much is set to change through Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Still quite warm, still quite dusty and hazy, but in fact there could be a dense area of more dust coming through possibly on Saturday, so be mindful about that if you do have asthma or pollen allergies. Heading offshore, those east-southeasterly winds are now 15 knots, could be getting up to 20 knots by the time we get to Friday. That will introduce some sea spray, 2-meter wind waves likely out in the Atlantic, northeasterly swells of 8 seconds, and you have your low tide at 10:30 a.m. and then your high tide at 4:45 in the afternoon. Across the rest of the region, it's mostly settled. There's a bit of cloudiness drifting into the Leeward Islands there. Up towards the north, there's an area of low pressure hanging around into the Bahamas. That will likely bring a cool front. Definitely some showers expected there, but the Saharan dust remains across the eastern Caribbean. So we start our tour then, heading into Havana. Just a bit brighter, 25 degrees Celsius, and a bit of sunshine there. Mostly sunny for Kingston at 31. And then out towards the Leeward Islands, we will introduce a few showers, a few patchy clouds as well. Down towards the south, there's still some Saharan dust hanging around for Grenada. Thick haze expected there, as well as into Georgetown. Highs of 31 degrees Celsius under some dull sunshine. But for us, dusty haze, dull sunshine, still feeling quite hot. So that's your weather, and that's it from me.
The weather was brought to you in part by the Water and Sewage Authority. Water, use what you need.
Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith says getting people to work together and be happy is one way of fighting crime. He was among scores of people who joined Rethink, a personal and organizational development center, in celebrating International Day of Happiness.
What makes me happy, it is what makes the country happy.
Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith at Rethink's Happiness Breakfast on Wednesday. He said events like this could be a catalyst for change as the country tries to move away from anger and bitterness, which often result in crime.
In Dubai, there's something known as the Happiness Patrol in their police service, because they're fully aware, and many other countries as well, that a country that is divided, a country that where citizens are involved with hate, bitterness, frustration, that leads to crime. It is very rare to find someone who has a degree of happiness being involved in criminal activity. So something like this plays a very big part towards my success in what I am trying to achieve.
CEO and Creative Director of Ross Advertising, Chester Paris, said the power of a kind word or gesture and the impact it could have on someone's life should not be underestimated.
Rethink has taken the responsibility to promote International Day of Happiness as a beginning. It's a beginning for which we could all aim towards and provide certain solutions to achieve happiness. We are just playing a very small part and encouraging different corporate citizens to be part of it.
In keeping with this year's theme, Happier Together, citizens are encouraged to focus on what unites the nation. What makes you happy?
I am Fiona, and friends, inspiration, and smiles make me happy.
Dion Batiste, TTT News.
More to come, stay with us.
Says informative can be fun. Smile now every morning with Lisa, Rishi, and Carrie as they keep you in the know with what's trending on social media and bring you updates from the worlds of current affairs, sport, technology, and much more. Start your day right and be in the know with what's happening now. Now, shaping tomorrow today. Mondays to Fridays at 6 a.m. on TTT, Talk City 91.1 FM, and streaming live on Facebook at TTT Live Online.
stricter measures need to be implemented when dealing with persons who are guilty of illegal firearms possession. This from head of the TTPS's Southern Division, Senior Superintendent Samshid Mohammed, when asked why 24 of the 55 persons held with illegal firearms were only fined, while 31 received sentencing.
I am of the firm view that a firearm is a dangerous thing in the hands of someone illegally, and it can cause fatality to ordinary law-abiding citizens, and more serious stern measures should be taken.
Meanwhile, holders of firearm licenses are being reminded to pay the necessary fees by April 1st under Section 21C of the Firearms Act. The Commissioner of Police may revoke any license, certificate of permit in the case of the holder of various licenses for non-payment of the various fees. Acting Superintendent Wayne Meister informed such holders that officers will be at the various police posts on Sunday, March 31st to facilitate payments.
This is just a public advisory to all holders of firearm users license. This is just to remind you on behalf of the Commissioner that persons need to pay the fees that is associated with having an FUL on or before the 1st of April 2019.
The Southern Division has recorded a 33% detection rate for robberies during the period January 1st to March 17th, 2019, and a call is being made by Senior Superintendent Samshid Mohammed for the installation of security cameras by not only businesses but members of the public as well. The installation of these cameras can allow the TTPS to obtain footage, as bars are now being targeted by criminals.
As we focus on robberies, presently the division has a 33% detection rate as relates to robberies. We continue to work to improve in this rate. Within the division, we have seen, as a matter of prevalence, bars being targeted. And there's a lot of engagement in these bars where multiple victims arising out of one robbery incident. We have multiple victims, and each victim at separate robbery is counted.
Well, in some other news, Trinidad and Tobago skies will be lit tonight with the final visible supermoon of 2019. This is the third supermoon of 2019 in a row, following January's super blood moon and February's ultra-large supermoon. So what is a supermoon? It has been defined by astrologer Richard Knoll in 1979 as any full moon or new moon that comes to within 361,740 kilometers from our planet, as measured from the centers of the moon and Earth. At 9:43 tonight, the moon will be 360,772 kilometers away from Earth. Well, that's a wrap on this evening's TTT News. Have a good night.